Oh my gosh, this is probably going to be the best YouTube video that's ever been on my channel. Careblazer, guess what you are about to watch? You are about to watch me and Teepa Snow have a conversation. Actually, that's not even true. You are going to watch Teepa Snow teach and demonstrate how to deal with some of the most difficult, challenging behaviors. And it's beautiful because she is actually demonstrating it. First, she shows how you can take the approach to get somebody with dementia to change dirty clothes. And Careblazer, keep your mind open. Her approach can be applied to any challenging dementia behavior. And then later on, she demonstrates how to respond. Well, I demonstrate how not to respond, like the mistakes you would make in responding to somebody who wants to go home. And then she corrects all of my mistakes and shows how it's done. It's so amazing. It's so helpful. Careblazer, I'm sure you know who Teepa Snow is, right? Let me know in the comments below. Do you know who she is? Have you ever heard of her? I'm sure you have. If not, this is going to be a great introduction to her. Her wealth of knowledge is amazing. I'm so grateful she's here for all of you to share her expertise. That being said, let's dive in and watch Teepa Snow demonstrate how to handle some really challenging behaviors. Let's go.
Oh my gosh, Careblazers, do I have the most special treat in the world for you today? I don't even know why I'm going to ask her to introduce herself, because I am pretty sure every single one of you already know who she is if you are following me on this channel. But just in case there's a brand new dementia caregiver out there in the world, Teepa, welcome to my channel. And thank you so very much, not only for being willing to come on my channel and share your expertise with my people, but just for all the work you've done for dementia care throughout the years, truly.
Well, thank you, Natalie. And it's great to be with folks. I thought you were going to say the best gift you could give, chocolate. I was really surprised when it was me, because that chocolate is great for endorphins.
If I could somehow get that through the YouTube channel, it'd be amazing. But for now, you are the best thing I can deliver to my Careblazers.
Yeah, lower calorie too.
There you go. So take a moment to just introduce yourself and let people know a little bit about you and what you do, and maybe even how you came into doing what you're doing to help so many dementia caregivers.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm an occupational therapist, and I have been an occupational therapist for over 42 years. So I've been around a long time. And some of my first work was done with people with head injuries, people who've had strokes, people with developmental disabilities. And so I learned a lot about changing brains from different kind of changing brains. And then I got really, really involved in geriatrics and moved then into understanding this thing we call dementia these days. But back when I first started, it was called organic brain syndrome, or grandma's got the hardening of the arteries. So now, but honestly, one of the first engagements in dementia I ever had was my grandfather moved in and I was a kid, and we thought he was eccentric and getting weird. And now we look back and went, oh, he had vascular dementia from black lung disease, from emphysema, from the distress of caring for my grandmother who had rheumatoid arthritis for years and years. And when she died, he came apart. And so I think that was early. And we didn't know at the time, but I think it was sort of helping me figure out, what does it mean to care for someone who can't figure out what you're trying to do and why you're doing it. And my mom was a phys ed teacher, and she was not able to figure that out. And they would have huge amounts of conflict in her effort to be supportive, but honest. And that really didn't work out so well for either one of them. So it worked better when I was the in-between, that jump generation thing.
Yeah, totally. And I love the way you teach a lot of your strategies, and you have this thing called positive approach to care, which I just love that name, first of all. And I do think there's a lot of room and a lot of work to be done to making care positive, making care with more dignity. Can you talk just a little bit about the positive approach to care?
Yeah. So, I was out and about, and nobody was really doing things that seemed to be recognizing and using what people have left instead of just really feeling like there's nothing. Oh my gosh, this is horrible. It takes 3 people, it takes 2 people, and you just have to do this stuff. And it's like, well, that's inaccurate. And sometimes when we take time to figure out who is someone, not like long time, but really be thoughtful about approaching. So I came up with a number of techniques that do make a difference. And so it's positive physical approach, it's positive personal connectors, it's positive action starters. And then it's things like hand under hand and give your visual cues first and then verbal and then touch. So I'll try it with you, Natali, and see what you think.
Yes.
Natali, hey.
Hello.
Hey, it's Teepa.
Yeah. Hi, Teepa.
Hey, Natali, I have a question for you. That is a beautiful sweater.
Thank you.
Did you buy it or did somebody give it to you?
I bought it.
Wow, good taste.
Thank you.
I'm wondering, do you have another one similar to that but a different color?
Mm-hmm.
Would you mind showing me?
Sure. Come on.
Yeah, come on. Okay, now I'm going to pause. So what I want to point out is I came in and I sounded really positive, upbeat. And before jumping into, Natali, that sweater is dirty, let's go change it, I didn't do any of that. I know the sweater's dirty. I saw you've had it on 3 days. I know some data. What I did is I came in and I went, Natali, hey, it's Teepa. And so what I did is establish we're together. Ooh, beautiful sweater. A compliment. That's called a positive connector. And then, did you buy it or did someone give it to you? So it's an either or. And what I'm really doing at this point is assessing your abilities. What's your language comprehension? What's your speech production? What's your ability to hold on to a conversation? So that I'm actually figuring out how can I be supportive? How much can I ask of you? Where do I need to make modifications? And ultimately, we're going to go to your room and I'm going to say, oh, would you try that on? I'd love to see how you look in that. Let me take a picture. And then let's take a picture of it. And I don't actually need to say anything about your dirty shirt because what's the point? If you knew it was dirty, you would have changed it. The fact you don't recognize it as dirty is something I need to assess and realize, wow, not able to keep up with time, not able to keep up with self as much, not noticing things about yourself. So I got to figure out how to let go of that and yet support you, or all we're going to have is a lot of conflict around me trying to tell you something's dirty when you don't get it.
I love it. It's such a beautiful example. And like 2 of the things that are jumping out to me as you share this amazing, beautiful example is number 1, what a beautiful thing you're doing to keep the relationship going, right? Like it's a pleasant interaction. It's beautiful. Not only was it a pleasant interaction, you complimented them. I talk so much about how the relationship is really important and the way a lot of times people approach trying to get care tasks done. It's like, no wonder they don't want to see you again.
Know,
or
it's like walking in. How many of us would love somebody to walk in and go, oh, Natali, why are you wearing that outfit? That is the same one you had on for 2 days. Come on, I am not taking you out like that. And it's like, who do you think you are?
I know, exactly. So I love that it's just such a pleasant, beautiful interaction and that you compliment the person. And then the other thing I think is so important to highlight is that sometimes caregivers feel like they're so busy and they like, let's just go, let's just get it done. And in their attempt to just hit it head on, they're going to take so much more time with the like back and forth and the arguing and the resisting versus something like this. It's like a few extra minutes will save you so much time.
It is so funny. I hope folks actually watch this and then back it up and watch again, because if you watch carefully, you'll see it takes about 45 seconds to get you up out of the chair and excited to go with me. So we tend to expand the amount of time we had to put into the offer because it's hard to change habits. And yet it turns out it actually was less than 45 seconds. And we see that as, but I wasn't really doing anything. And it was like, you were doing everything. You were setting the stage for support so she could come along. And you did a great job. And so you need to give yourself credit that this new behavior is actually hard to learn, but it's great when you have it because it makes such a difference in the probability of success. Not 100%, but the probability of being successful with someone.
Yeah. And if you're not successful, at least you've had some pleasant interaction there in the beginning, right? It's like, it's not a loss still.
Yeah.
You're
And
having
if she
moments
says not right now, I go, oh, I hear you. Listen, could you do me a favor though?
Mm-hmm.
And now as I said it and I paused, your brain was going, yeah, I mean, or what? I mean, you might say what, but I'm back to having a relationship that's this back and forth. And so, okay, it didn't work, but maybe I could get you out of the chair at least. That's a start because you've been sitting there for a good long while.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying some other strategy because that idea of being able to let go of what I can't get and move forward in something else and then circle around and come back to it when we're up and moving, but not because, sometimes we've done this thing of, oh, come change your shirt. So many times that the person, we think, oh, they don't remember things. So it's like, oh, they remember that they aren't getting up with you.
Right. Exactly. That's it. They might not remember the conversation. They might not remember the specific details, but they know when you come around, things are kind of tense and it's not enjoyable. Right. And so it's such an important, and even just so much creativity you have with that example, like after the fact, like, let's say you got them to change a shirt. It's like, let's take a selfie or let's take a photo. It's like, there's so many opportunities for some fun in here, There
are. And if we don't find joy in the interaction occasionally, if we can't find our own, when we take that selfie, we should be going, success, this is what success looks like. That moment, you know what, we should send this to John. Yeah. Take that moment to celebrate and share the celebration because this can be a very lonely existence. And, whether you're a family carer or you're a friend carer or you're a professional carer, this gets lonely because nobody's there to see your success story. And sometimes we forget, we have devices. You know what? I want John to see this. Smile. Yeah. And then, later I can put the little, she got up and changed, and we can have that moment of celebration because I think sometimes we forget to celebrate our successes and we fester on the thing that I couldn't get her to X. And it's like, you're absolutely right. You could not, but tell me what else happened today.
Right. I know our brains love to go to the negative so easily and we're like bullies to ourselves.
Let me spiral down into the pit. And it's like, what were two things that went okay? Well, she didn't, that's not what I asked you. So I couldn't get her, And people who are more, judge themselves harshly are really prone to finding the flaws in their own performance and what happens. And it makes it hard to find joy because you're so busy, telling yourself, well, I didn't do that as well as I'd like to. And it's like, but you know what? She did get up. Congratulations. Because you know what? There's a lot of times she doesn't. So I want us to celebrate a little baby step. Yeah. Because if you're looking for a big move, you could be really frustrated. And there's really not a lot of value in that.
Exactly. When you think about just how long this process can be of caring for somebody with dementia, it's like taking this approach, being easier on yourself, having some fun with it, it's going to make it a better journey. Like it's already hard, even if everything goes as good as it could possibly go. Like let's not make it harder.
People in the world to work with, which is always, oh, my mom's easy to work with. I'm glad I don't have one of those folks. And it's like, well, maybe you are doing some of the things already. Or maybe your mom is this angelic individual. Or maybe you just haven't got to the rumps in the road yet, because I think there are rumps in the road where that's called bumps in the road, but rumps, because you miss them because you're going fast. And it's like rump. And then suddenly you hit one that's bigger than the others. And then it's like, God, what is going on here with her? And it's like, oh, we hope it's just a UTI. I know, because then you can go back to, it's like, and sometimes it isn't.
Right. And then what?
Yeah. And so if we're not willing to change, we're unlikely to get a change that we'd like to see.
Yes. The change starts with the caregiver. Yeah.
She's already changing.
Yeah.
And she has already changed. So what are we going to do to modify, to adapt to her changing abilities? Because she used to be able to do this, and now she's able to do that, but not this. It's like, ooh, okay. So that's different.
Yeah. It's almost like anytime we're trying to do something head on and directly like get them to do something and it doesn't work, it's like, that's the red flags. Like, oh, this is a personal connector moment. This is like us trying to be creative. What else? How else can I approach this? It's like it's like your radar. Oh, this is one of those moments where they can think back to that situation, be like, how could I apply that to this?
Good idea. Yeah. Or who else maybe I bring in, because maybe it's us and I've been trying so hard that she don't like me right now. And maybe I really need to give it a break. And so we call tag teaming when we do stuff like that. It's like, coach it up, coach it over. I just need to give myself a break and watch it from another perspective, and I might get a new idea. But when I'm in the middle of stuff and I'm not feeling successful, continuing to do what I don't feel successful at rarely gets me, what I can ask is, could you videotape this interaction with me? So I can figure out what I just said or did that triggered, because I'm in the middle. It's hard. And so I advocate a lot for get permission and then do a little videotaping and then look at yourself. Yeah. And it's not so much that you're just looking at the other person. You need to look at yourself. Like, how did you look? How did you sound? Where did you stand? What were your hands doing? Because the more we can understand about what we did or didn't do, the better it might help us appreciate why they did or did not do something. Because often the reaction to what's happened, not the first step, but sometimes it is. They're looking for something and we miss our cues. I mean, I totally missed that she had already come up and tapped me on the shoulder twice, and I was busy doing something and ignored her because I said, I'll be with you in a minute. Well, that's not the same as saying, you want me, give me 1 second. That's a very different reaction. If somebody taps you on the shoulder, yeah, give me a second. Because if she's not processing my words, it basically was I ignored her. Right. Instead of I heard you, got it. Give me 1 second. I'll be right with you. That idea of acknowledging an interruption when somebody's doing it, because maybe they really do think they need something, or maybe they're just feeling lonely.
Yeah, right. I love this though, because it's highlighting, we see it a certain way, like through our eyes and our perspective. But when you think about it from that person with dementia's perspective, they might have felt like you ignored them. They may not have heard you. They may not have understand what you have said, right? And while you're like trying to tell them to stop, or you'll be with them in a minute and you keep doing what you're doing, now they've gone and there's going to be another mess or another challenge for you, waiting for you. But it's great because it's like, wait, let's look at it from their perspective. How might this look? And the recording on a video is going to be a beautiful way to show that.
It is, because it's objective. Nobody's telling you did it, and you get to look at yourself and go, oh, I never turned around. I wonder if she thought I wasn't listening, because she threw her hands up and then she just walked away. And it's like, she has no patience. And it's like, you're right. She doesn't. So, might have been that she thought you didn't say or do anything to acknowledge her, and she felt like you didn't care. Yeah. It's like, well, I do. And it's like, got it. Yeah. And sometimes we need a third party to look at us, so that we can look together, not to point out the flaws. It's like, do you think she heard you? And that causes you to go, oh, well, I would have thought so. And it's like, well, I wonder, because it's sort of like she's waiting for you to say something, isn't it? And it helps us just take a second look at something or listen to something that we think we got. But when somebody else sees it, we go, oh, well, I guess if I turn the sound off, what does it look like to you?
Right.
Oh, wow. I guess she could have thought I never paid any attention. Instead of I answered her, but I needed to finish. But I guess, so I didn't give a visual cue. Visual, verbal, and then touch sort of thing. Yeah.
And Careblazers, for those of you watching, like, I just want to point out to them, like, the way Teepa is talking, notice like when she's talking about evaluating the video, it's not an opportunity to beat yourself up or to like get frustrated for what you missed. It truly is from like curiosity. I wonder what else it could be. Like, let's take a look at it. Like, so just pay attention to her words and what she's saying, but also like how she's doing it, like the process of how she's explaining, I think is so important. It's not an opportunity to beat up, like where nobody's perfect at doing it, but it's an opportunity to be curious and evaluate and figure out like how you might want to change in the future.
And you want to know the hardest thing most people have when they watch themselves on video is finding the good things they do. And so we always start with, well, so what were a couple things that you did well or went well? And it's like, well, it didn't work. And it's like, the ultimate outcome was not what you hoped for. But what did happen on that video? Watch. What does she do? She looks at you, she smiles, she answers a couple questions, but it just didn't go the way you wanted it to. Sure enough.
Right.
But
I
what
love
did
it.
happen?
Exactly. And you have to like ask those questions, and like it's a challenging question for a lot of people because we don't spend time thinking about all the amazing things and great effort that you're trying to do, but it's totally worthwhile. And it reminds me, I was talking to a careblazer recently who we've been talking about improving relationships between the main caregiver and the person with dementia. And he has video cameras in his home, and he wrote back to me, he says, "Oh my gosh, I can't even believe the way I look when I enter the room with my loved one there. Like, no wonder they think I'm like this horrible, awful person." I'm like, yeah, it's kind of eye-opening when you actually see it, you know?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, sometimes we convince ourselves that it's the best we can do when in fact it's just a habit. And so sometimes we just need to look at our habits, because habits are what our brain uses when it doesn't want to think. It's sort of the automatic pilot. And we start to notice that some of our habits are bad habits for us, for someone else. It does require we look at our habit as it is and go, okay, what do I want to keep? Do I want to keep this, or do I want to try to shift it? And it takes, and this is the thing that's really hard for us to accept, it takes on average 6 to 8 weeks to grow a new synaptic connection in your brain, to actually grow one that basically becomes your primary way of doing things. So it never even occurs to your brain to do it the old way, because now I've got a new habit. I've got a new way of doing things, and it has to become a pathway of frequency and use and comfort. So I give up the old thing that I did. So for instance, Natali, if I say, I'm just going to see what you do. Okay, listen, I want to go home. Can you get me out of here?
how am I responding? What
would you automatically say if I said, could you get me out of here?
Okay, got it. You're home.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, this is your home.
No, this is not my home. Can you not get me out of here and take me home?
We're going to stay right here.
So this is this. So, okay, the new thing I want you to say is, when I first say, listen, could you get me out of here and take me home? Rather than answer me, I want you to go, oh, you want out and you want to go home. Because when you say it, it helps your brain going, she doesn't think she's home. Huh.
Right.
Because when you say it, your brain gets a chance to go, how could she not know she's home? But then you realize she doesn't. So you're wanting to know if I could help you get out. Now, and then what you're going to do is a simple choice. So do you need to go home to do something, or you just want to be there? Why does she want to go? What's going on? Yeah. So, okay, so you ready?
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I need to get home. Can you get me out of here?
Oh, what do you have at home? What do you want to do?
See, now you skipped a step there, Natali.
Oh, you want to go home, Teepa.
Oh, perfect. So this is where we get frustrated, because we think we get it when we hear it, but you have to rehearse it so many times.
Right.
And so the more we rehearse it, hey, listen, can you take me home?
You want to go home.
Nice. Perfect. Hey, listen, do you know how to get to my house?
I'm not sure. Can you help me? Where's your house?
What happened?
Oh, you want to go to your house?
Yeah, you want to know if I know how to get to your house. You think you know what you're doing, and so you start figuring how to, because our usual conversation is one of us asks and the other one answers. One of us asks and the other one answers. And in dementia, what we have to realize is, whoa, we need to slow this down. So when somebody asks, we confirm, is that what you asked me? Because it slows the conversation down. Do you know how to get to my house?
Do you want to know if I know how to get to your house?
Yeah. Now you have time to think of, so you're wanting to know. Now, now you can have your opportunity to go, did you need to go there to do something? You just want to be there. But you've had your chance, and I'm listening to you now because you got it. You got the right question I had for you.
Right. So then I could be like, what do you want to do at your house? Or, get some information from them.
Well, I need to fix dinner, and I've got to get there so I can fix dinner. The kids are going to be home soon.
You're waiting on the kids. You're worried if the kids are going to have to.
Well, they'll be there soon, and I need to be there. I don't want to have them in the house by themselves.
Okay. So now at this point, would it be okay for me to say, you know what? The kids just left a message. I think they left it over here. Let's see what it said. And it would say something like, you know what? They're at a friend's house today for dinner. It's just going to be me and you.
And
what do you want to have?
Yeah, so it really depends on what you know about the person's life. Were they a homemaker and the kids did go to other people's houses? So that's a reasonable thing to say. Could you say, I mean, so that might work in that case. You might say, oh, you know what? Let me do some checking and see if they're heading home or not. Or I could try, oh, what were you thinking of making for them?
Yes. Yeah.
Something.
And then you could possibly go
we,
make that together.
We could. And then we sort of go down that road a little bit. You know what? I think I have ham here. You said macaroni, cheese, and ham. Let's go look, because I think I have what you might need to make it. And see if I can get somebody actively engaged in something. Because if this time of day they were frequently fixing supper, what do they have to do? What are they doing? And it's like nothing. And so that becomes, I got to go home. So, this gets complicated. So there's many layers to it, which is why even after 40 years, I'm still learning.
Well, yeah. And it could depend on what they're going to say to you and what their response is and what kind of day it is. But I love it because, this whole approach, I've talked a lot about the Vera approach. I don't know. It's like you validate them. It's similar like that. But what I love in terms of this example is when somebody with dementia is asking you a question like this, like they're wanting to do something, we think just the answer is enough. But actually, like, what are we just thinking? We'll answer them and then they're just going to stop and go about their way. It's like, how are we going to then engage and move forward with them and like start,
So the really hard part for us is to realize they came to us because they want to connect and engage with us one way or the other, either because we have information or we have ability or we have access, or they think we have something they need. Yeah. And if we say, no, I can't help you, it's like, or, yeah, sure, I'll take you. Okay, let me get my pocketbook. And it's like, oh, no. Or this is your home. No, it's not. Right. We get into an argument or it's not working right. And it's like, well, we have a role in that. What are we going to do about it?
Right. It's beautiful. And like I tell all my Careblazers too, it's like, well, however they responded to what you just did, that's feedback. Like, oh, that wasn't a good approach. Or, like when you're like, no, this is, it's like, that's not a good approach. Next, note to self, we're going to try a different response. Right. And so
if something escalates, it's usually not exactly the direction unless the energy's up, and then I hope you're ready for it.
Right. Exactly. So it's not even bad. Like you have to be willing to try and be creative and try different approaches. And if it doesn't go as well, it doesn't mean, this is a big message too. It doesn't mean there's not an answer. It doesn't mean there's not a way to get through it. It's just like, that wasn't the way that day. And so you can keep trying it. I just love the creative approach, not beating yourself up, being really curious about what it is they're coming to you for and like validating them. So many of us want to like get beyond the behavior that they know we're not even trying to understand where they're coming from.
A friend of mine calls it the hit and run syndrome. And nobody likes to have a hit and run on them because, it's that idea. I just want to be done with this conversation and move it forward because it's the same conversation we have 15 times. Right. And it's like, yeah, but for them, it's the first time they're asking the question. So it's like, man, imagine that every time you ask a question, whatever answer you give me, it drops in a hole. And I have no idea that I asked it and that you answered it. So it's just gone to me because that part of my brain sucked it right out. There's a hole there where there should be areas where they had taken the data and it's just not available.
Right. And so that also means if they're asking 15 times a day, you have plenty of opportunity to be creative in your approach and try something new if it doesn't work.
Yeah. And it also may be a signal of I'm bored and I don't know what to do with myself. And so that gives you another opportunity to go, okay, so we need to either change the activity and engage. We need to change the location of where we are right now because this place is not engaging them. Or maybe we need to change ourselves or somebody else or something has to happen here. Because if I'm not liking what's happening, I have the power to shift.
Yes, I love it. It's so great. It's a wealth of knowledge. I like to say too, like if somebody with dementia is pleasantly engaged in something, like they're actually enjoying something, then that means they're not doing all the other things that you're, really stressed out about.
Even if it's basically doing this, with the scarf and I'm spending a lot of time with it. And you got that, and you put this here. Oh, you see there? Yeah. And number of people that will go, Mom, what are you doing? What are you doing, Mom? And it's like, leave her alone. She's absolutely engaged. She's enjoying what she's doing. And unless you want to take over the responsibility of being the scarf, I suggest you just give it a break because she doesn't need you right now.
Yeah.
And if you do want to engage, you want to go something like, ooh, that is beautiful. And you look at it with her and you, 1, 2, yeah, I see. And then finally, may I? And then you offer to touch and you say, wow, look at that. And then we go, da, 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 da.
I love it. It's beautiful. Teepa, we could just talk forever and like dissect your brain with all your approaches. And I know I want to be conscious of your time. You have a YouTube channel with so many amazing videos that for Careblazers watching, like you could see her wealth of knowledge, right? A lot of people talk about dementia, but they don't actually like have the knowledge of like, how does this actually apply? Go to her YouTube channel. You're already watching this on YouTube, so I know you know how to do this. I'm going to link it below this video, and it's going to go straight there, and you can just watch her videos there. Click the little red subscribe button. It's totally free, Careblazer. It's super helpful. But besides your YouTube channel, Teepa, anywhere else
we have a Facebook page. We have, we're on LinkedIn. We are also, depending on who you are, if you like TikTok, we have a TikTok channel.
You're too cool for me. I don't even know what TikTok is.
Who would have thought November, we decided the end of November, we thought, oh, what the heck, let's try it. People kept saying we should try it. We now have over 3,300,000 followers.
Amazing.
We have some videos that have had over 6.5 million views. Wow. I mean, which to me says how needed this kind of stuff is, because people are trying really hard, but they're not feeling well supported.
Right.
And so, we've got a website, just teepasnow.com. We have free consults for a half hour. We have all kinds of free things. Info at Teepa Snow will give you somebody, you can type something in. Our goal is to help people do what they're doing the best that they can do it. And it may often mean that they need support. And just as you're doing it, Natali, we're recognizing there's a lot of need out there, and people don't get connected with the people who would help them necessarily when they get a diagnosis of something. And for some people, they're doing this for years before they ever get a diagnosis, because everybody just makes an assumption about what's going on instead of helping really get a good assessment so we can figure out where are we and what is happening here and what do I as a care person need to help me help better.
Right. I love
I'm really glad you're there.
Yeah, no, I appreciate this. And I will be sure to link to all of those things below in the description, Careblazers. So you can just click down and click on whatever or all of the resources that she's offering is amazing. Teepa, thank you for taking the time to demonstrate. It was I think that's a great learning opportunity there, and for sharing your wisdom. And again, just for doing what you're doing.
Oh, you are so welcome. And right back at you, because I think together the team gets stronger, the tribe gets bigger, and we create a society of inclusive individuals who support one another and make dementia not the bad guy in the room, but something that we are living with, and we figure it out until they figure out a cure.
Right. I know. I love your slogan, by the way, until there's a cure, there's care. There's no truer statement than that, honestly.
All I know. And I'm not going to be the one that comes up with a cure. So I'll help as much as I can with a care.
They got lots of people way smarter than me trying to figure that out right now. And I don't know. It's not going too well. There is hope on the horizon, but I don't know.
There is, but for right now, the thing we can do is do the best we know how to do and help others.
Exactly. And the people watching videos like this, they're caring for somebody who is so far along in the process. This care is what we have. So,
For both of them.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Teepa, for being here.
You're
Careblazers,
so
thank you for tuning in. Bye.
Thanks, guys.